There's been a lot of talk since the 2020 election about how to make our elections more secure. Now, as we know, there was no massive fraud in the 2020 election, neither at the presidential election nor the Senate or congressional races. The election wasn't stolen. But election security should still matter a lot to maintain faith in our elections. States have changed laws, and many campaigned on those changes. I've said that the left vastly overstated the impact of many of the changes, but that in almost all of the cases, they were fixing a problem that didn't exist. But I'm entirely supportive of constructive and effective ways to help prevent the limited cases of voter fraud and to give those who have questions more faith in the system. Which is why it is so bizarre that some of the same people who say they're concerned about massive voter fraud are going after a tool that states use to detect and prevent it. In Alabama, for instance, the new Secretary of State, Wes Allen, in his first official act in office last month, fulfilled a campaign promise and withdrew the state from a multi-state data-sharing group whose very existence is designed to detect and prevent voter fraud. It's called the Electronic Registration Information Center, or ERIC for short. It allows the states that belong to it to securely share voter registration data across state lines and with other government agencies like Social Security Administration, Department of Motor Vehicles, vital information that can help, for example, catch if someone is registered to vote in two states. More than 30 states are members, spanning the political spectrum from Republican strongholds like Texas and South Carolina to more Democratic states like Maine and Maryland. Members enrolled in ERIC can request a report identifying voters who may appear to have voted twice within the state in the prior federal election, voted in more than one state in the prior federal election, or who appear to have voted on behalf of a deceased voter in the prior federal election. That's exactly what we should want to stop potential voter fraud. Most importantly, the program helps clean up voter rolls and has identified more than 568,000 deceased voters since it began its reports a decade ago. According to its website, allowing states to maintain more accurate voter rolls, ERIC also increases election security by notifying officials when a registered voter moves away. But in Alabama, Secretary of State Allen has pulled out of ERIC. Allen, a conservative former state legislator who has made claims of voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election, campaigned on election security and has run for Secretary of State, has taken a hardline stance against newer voting methods like mail-in voting, no-excuse absentee ballots, regular absentee ballots, etc. In a statement released last month, Allen blasted ERIC, calling it a private organization having access to the private data of Alabama citizens, including the driver's license numbers, contact information, and partial Social Security numbers of minors. But ERIC is not a private organization. It's nonprofit, funded and run by the states that belong to it. And none of the information that they get ends up coming in identifiable numbers. It's all hashtagged. And by ending Alabama's participation in ERIC, Secretary of State Allen effectively cuts it off from an important pipeline of information that can help identify voter fraud. Allen's predecessor, John Merrill, also a Republican, disagreed. He was on this show a year ago explaining his support for the system.
The seminal question is not whether or not your state needs to be a member of ERIC. The seminal question is, if your state is not a member of ERIC, where are you going to get the resources that we currently use to remove from the voters that are dead, that have moved away, that are incarcerated and not been noted yet on your information? So that's the seminal question that has to be asked.
Now, this is not a partisan issue. There are many other notable Republican officials from southern states which use the system and have sung its praises. When Georgia joined in 2019, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger said joining ERIC is a tremendous step forward for the integrity of Georgia's voter rolls, keeping our lists up to date and bringing out our state to the forefront of election security. Governor Ron DeSantis issued a statement when Florida joined, also in 2019, saying one of my administration's top priorities is protecting the integrity of Florida's elections, which is why joining ERIC is the right thing to do for our state, as it will ensure our voter rolls are up to date and will increase voter participation in our elections. In Texas, the director of elections said in 2020 the announcement the Lone Star State will join ERIC, an important next step. We strive to identify and conduct outreach to eligible but unregistered voters. So why stop using it in Alabama? Well, let's ask Wes Allen, Alabama Secretary of State, who joins us now. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, so why and maybe what am I getting wrong here?
Well, thanks, Dan, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Listen, we campaigned all over the state of Alabama and went to all 67 counties. And what we heard loud and clear was we wanted and maintain our system in Alabama. And one of the things that was very concerning was that it was, the ERIC system gets the private data of Alabamians. And every 60 days, they get our driver's license information transferred to ERIC, to a private nonprofit. And, there's this misconception, Dan, that we have this computer sitting in the Secretary of State's office, and we can go pull up the information from Georgia or from other participating Florida, other participating states, and compare this information to Alabama's system. And that's just not the case. And we hear a lot of talk in today's time and about protecting our personal data. And so we take that very seriously in Alabama. I heard that loud and clear on the campaign trail. And another thing that was a red flag too, Dan, was that if it's all about maintaining clean voter rolls, why do they need the information of minors? And so that was a huge red flag for us. And we just wanted to make sure that we do it, have an Alabama solution to this issue and maintaining voting integrity.
So let me ask you two things about it. I mean, as you know, it uses a cryptograph system that converts sensitive information like date of birth and social security numbers and into hash elements, making them appear like a string of random characters, right? So no one can actually see what the data is. But secondly, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that this protection potentially of this data is more important than voter integrity.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that in Alabama, we're going to come up with our own solution. I've been in office now for 3.5 weeks or so, and we've already had multiple meetings with the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency where the driver's license information goes to ERIC before we withdrew. And we've already had meetings with the Alabama Department of Public Health. We've got meetings scheduled with the Alabama Department of Revenue. And so we're going to touch base and to talk to other agencies around our state government to see how we can leverage and have that data in-house and make sure we protect it with an Alabama solution.
But there's more resources when you're involved with ERIC, right? I mean, you can't possibly do in Alabama everything that ERIC can do in a multi-state way. And if voter integrity is the primary goal here, and I know it's something very important to you, I don't see how you can possibly withdraw from this.
Well, again, and I pose the question, if this is about maintaining clean voter rolls, why do they need the information of minors? And that's a question that we have, and I just don't want to pass along our information on children, Dan, to a private out-of-state group.
Yeah, look, I don't know, but is the answer because it's about 16 and 17-year-olds who are about to become 18 and then become eligible to vote? I don't know, but is that the answer?
Possibly. I'm sure that is. I mean, it's a voter registration program.
Yeah. So that's the answer, right? I mean, I don't know. It just seems to me that it's a little hypocritical to be talking about voter integrity. You got this great tool out there. We had your predecessor on here. Also, I hate to talk about the party, right? Because it's not about party. It's not about he's a Republican. He's not. It's just about, it seems like it's just a very good system. It's very effective. And I think that some people have engaged in fear-mongering on this. And, some of the voters, I think, bought into it. And I don't doubt your point that many of your voters said that.
No, and like I say, Dan, this is about protecting the data of Alabamians and those minors.
All right.
And, so I just don't believe we need to be passing along data of our children to a private out-of-state group.